Hello, my name is David Wells and I'm speaking to you on behalf of a small little group in the Salford Diocese. We call ourselves the Wisdom Group and we're not claiming wisdom, we just look for it. And we recently had a meeting back towards the end of November where we explored what we could possibly find as the positives from 2020. Look, we know it's been a year of tragedy for some. For others, a massive inconvenience. For some people, it's been the cause of stress. Some people have lost their jobs. We know that of all the years, this has probably been one in which anxiety escalated beyond all known experience. So we know it's been tough out there. We know that. But what might be the positives? And here are just 4 positives we want to share with you by way of saying thank you. We want to say thank you to all of you out there for 4 main reasons. Firstly, we know from evidence we're getting that people have involved and worked with parents in a completely new way. We know now that because a lot of work is going through online activity, parents are actually sitting with their children and talking about the things of faith. Now that didn't used to happen so much. So for you teachers who've been working online to help children at home, and you catechists who've been trying to offer sessions and seminars and resources, and you priests who've been broadcasting masses and sharing with us the fruits of your lessons and learning, what is actually happening is conversations are taking place in the home now. That didn't before. Honestly, it's true. For a long time, what we used to do was kind of take children from their families, whether at school or in the parish hall. You know, we'd offer catechesis and courses and they'd be done with the best of intentions. But the parents gradually delegated all that and then they become divorced from it. And then they became a bit like customers, you know, complaining about the time of the meetings. Well, this year has transformed the way that we're working with families, and more families are having these conversations at the time that suits them, and that's because you changed the way you work. So the first thing we wanted to say a big thank you to you for is for the way that you've engaged with families. We know it's happening and it will continue to happen. The second thing we want to be really grateful for and to say a big amen is thank you for being so adaptable. I mean, it's shocking. If I'd have said to you at the beginning of the year, it won't be long before, you know, we're using technology in new ways, we're finding new ways to communicate with each other, we'll drop the notice boards and the newsletters because actually they weren't great ways of reaching people anyway, and we'll find new ways of becoming missionary disciples. It's amazing that we've found new ways to reach each other, new ways to engage with each other. I mean, videos and conference calls and Zoom meetings. I know we can have Zoom fatigue, I know all that. But what is actually happening is we're finding new ways around the old problems. Do you remember, how do you reach people? How do you get them to reply? How do you get them to meetings? Well, what's been wonderful about the last 12 months is that, forced by circumstance, people like you have found new ways round problems. Pope Francis said the biggest risk to the church is just becoming habitualised, you know, where you just do things the same old way, we use the same old books, we use the same old methods, and we complain about the same old things. Well, that's not happened this year. Because you're resourceful and adaptable, things have worked differently. And we can honestly say that St. John Henry Newman's famous kind of advice to live is to change, and to live perfectly is to change often. Well, catechists, teachers, priests, you've all worked hard to change the way that you go about things. And amen to that, because it's brought some new life. The third thing we wanted to say a big thank you to you for is so many people have commented on how this year, I appreciate it's not the same for everyone, has allowed people to reflect, to stop, to pause, to do as Mary does in these wonderful Christmas narratives, and she ponders these things in her heart, right? What we did was we stopped and we started to become a little bit more patient, because actually the stresses on us changed. Did you notice how we didn't charge off to Europe or the Maldives or, for our holidays? For those of us that could afford to travel some distances, all of a sudden all that was changed. But did you notice what else happened? People started to discover the beauty of their own gardens. People said, I hear the bird song now. So what has happened is that we've allowed this year, for many of us, if at least we didn't invite it, it's caused us to pause, to rethink, to reflect a little bit on our practice. And that's been really good news. And that leads me to the fourth and final positive, which is, if 2020 did anything, it went global. We've produced a few humble little videos in the Salford Diocese. I've had emails from New Zealand, from people looking at them. And what has happened is that we've learnt something really powerful, ironically through a pandemic, that what affects some of us actually affects all of us. And so in a way, what we do locally now can have global consequences. It's amazing that this year of all years, we've expanded our horizons. We've been stuck. We've been caused to find ourselves restricted and constrained. But at another level, we're going online. We're learning about things on the other side of the world. We have dioceses starting to work together, and parishes starting to help one another, schools beginning to talk to each other in new ways. So what have I just said? Thank you for your efforts to involve families. Thank you for your way of looking and adapting and thinking new thoughts about the ways we did things. Thank you for looking inside of yourself to become more patient, a little bit more reflective. And thank you for looking beyond yourself, that we've now seen sort of global horizons and recognised that we're linked in profound ways, and that creates new opportunities. In short, it's been tough, we know that, but there are signs of new growth and life in the church because of people like you. So on behalf of that small little wisdom group, I want to say a big thank you. Thank you for all that you've done this year, and we look forward to being in touch with you next year when we develop all the things that we've talked about in the last 7 minutes. On behalf of our small little wisdom group, have a blessed, safe and holy Christmas. Thanks for listening.